Meeting is now called to order. We're going to have prayer by yours truly, and then we'll have Pledge of Allegiance by Councilman Nielsen. Let us stand for prayer, please. Shall we pray? Gracious God, our Father, we come before you tonight, thanking you for the many blessings you have bestowed upon our lives. We thank you for life, health, and strength. We thank you, Lord God, for the opportunity, the blessing, the benefit of living in such a great city. Lord God, and I ask that you would continue to bless this city. That you will bless us in all areas possible. I pray, God, that we would handle the business of the residents of Natchitoches in a way that brings them honor, brings them joy, makes them proud. So in your Son, Jesus' name, we ask these blessings. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty, thank you, Councilman Nielsen. We're now moving to the reading and approval of the minutes from our May 9, 2022 meeting.
May I make a motion that we dispense with the reading of the minutes of May 9th and they be approved? I second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes as they have been compiled from our May 9th, 2022 meeting. Council, any comments or questions? Any public comments or questions about this particular motion? All right, seeing none. Ms. Stacy, roll call vote.
Eli?
Yes.
Nelson?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Harrington?
Yes.
Petite?
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. We now have a proclamation read by Councilwoman at Large Smith. It's Proclamation number 43.
Thank you, Mayor. Proclamation number 43. It's a proclamation dealing with mental health awareness. Whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and whereas all Americans experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives, and 1 in 4 of all Americans require treatment at some point for mental health, and whereas prevention is an effective way to reduce the burden of mental health conditions, and whereas there is a strong body of research that supports specific tools that all Americans can use to better handle challenges and protect their health and well-being, and whereas mental health conditions such as depression, anxiety, and schizophrenia are real, common, and treatable illnesses, and with effective treatment, individuals can recover and lead full, productive lives. And whereas real recovery from mental illness requires community action, understanding, and teamwork, and is possible due to improved science, increased community support, and reduced stigma and stereotypes, but significant barriers still remain. And whereas each business, school, government agency, healthcare provider, organization, and citizens share the burden of mental health problems and have a responsibility to promote mental wellness and support prevention efforts. Therefore, I, Mayor Ronnie Williams, Jr., do hereby proclaim May 31st, 2022 as Mental Health Awareness Day in the city of Natchez and call upon the citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools in Natchez to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health, the steps our citizens can take to protect their mental health, and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental health conditions. Mayor Williams is encouraging all Natchez residents to wear Kelly green on Tuesday, May 31st, 2022, and to participate in the Mental Health Awareness Symposium on that said date. The symposium will be held at the Natchez Event Center at 6 p.m., and this proclamation is signed by Mayor Ronnie Williams, Jr. And I move that we adopt Proclamation 43.
Second.
All right, motion been made to adopt, and it has been seconded as well. I should say that this idea came from one of my former colleagues, and she is here, Mrs. Persunda Raymond. I didn't ask her to speak. Do you want to say something? She's good, okay. All right, but there was a particular event that kind of inspired the thought to let's focus on mental health awareness during the month of May. I think that there had been a resolution maybe 10 years ago or 11 years ago. 2011, or a proclamation was presented before the council then and the mayor then. You know, I guess a lack of understanding, maybe perhaps not taking your mental health seriously. There are certain things that we say, kind of cast it off, but it's a reality. There's a reason folks take their lives. They're dealing with grief and depression and things of that nature. And so we've got to, just want to bring to the forefront the importance of addressing our own mental health. All right. So we're going to have professionals. We're going to have some youth groups as well. We're going to have folks who work in the mental health space there with information. We've seen, even in our community, a student at LSMSA recently take their life. So it's something very serious. There are pressures that everybody's dealing with, no matter the age. So we just think it's really important to highlight this, and I appreciate Mrs. Raymond. She's been working really hard to get this planned, and we only thought about this, I think, maybe the second Saturday in May. So we're working with a very short timeline. So going forward, we'll certainly, make this a priority for the month of May going forward. So, Mrs. Raymond, we do want you to come forward. We want to snap a picture. All right. Council, do y'all want to join us for this?
Sure.
All right. You need us to move over this way?
No, watch it. We'll look. There you go. And look here.
Yeah. Appreciate it. How you doing? All right, again, let's blanket the city with green on May 31st. That's next Tuesday.
Kelly Green.
Kelly Green, that's right.
Green.
Moving on to the next item on the agenda, it's up for finals, planning and
Mayor
zoning.
Williams, we need a vote.
Oh,
That's right.
thank you, Mrs. Stacy. We didn't vote. All right. Any comments or questions from the public? All righty. Mrs. Stacy, roll call vote.
Eli,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Petite,
Yes.
All right, that measure passes also. Now we can move on to planning and zoning final. It's read by, and this is Ordinance Number 33, Councilman Petite.
Thank you, Mayor Williams. Ordinance number 33 of 2022, and ordinance amending ordinance number 64 of 2001 by changing zoning classification of property described as follows. This property is located at 43 Jefferson Street. Whereas the Planning Commission of the City of Natchez, State of Louisiana, has recommended at their meeting on May 3rd of 2022 that the application of Kristen and Ronald Simpson to rezone the property described above from R1 residential to R1 residential with a special exception to operate short-term rentals. And I so move that ordinance number 33 of 2022 be adopted.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. I think we have Mr. and Mrs. Simpson here today. All right, I want to invite both of you or one of you to the podium to just kind of explain to us what's going on. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but you're here, and we want to hear from you. So whenever you speak, just state your first and last name, and they only have to do it the one time, right?
Yes.
Just the one time.
Okay, I'm Kristen Simpson, it's my husband, Ronald Simpson. We purchased a home at the end of January at 403 Jefferson. It's actually already 3 apartments. It's 3 individual apartments with 3 separate meters, and it has been that way since like 1994. So the intention is to take one of those units and make it a short-term rental, and the other 2 units will remain as long-term. We'll have long-term tenants in those other 2 units, so that's it.
Okay? Comments or questions, council? Are there any public comments or questions? All right. Thank you, too, for being here tonight.
Thank you.
We appreciate your investment here in the city of Natchitoches. Seeing that there are no questions or comments, Mrs. Stacy, roll call vote.
Eli,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Petite,
Yes.
All right, that motion carries as well. Next movement on the agenda is council. Get one of you to,
May I make a motion that we
there we go.
amend
no, go ahead, you.
make a motion that we amend the agenda to add ordinance number 31 of 2022 to agenda?
Second.
All right, motion been made and seconded to amend the agenda to add ordinance number 31 of 2022. All right, any comments or questions, council? Any public comments or questions? Okay, seeing none. Roll call vote, Mrs. Stacy.
Eli,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Petite,
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. Now for ordinance number 31, that's Councilwoman at-large Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, this is an ordinance amending the budget, 2021-2022 budget, to reflect additional revenues and expenditures. I think this was introduced previously, I believe?
Yeah, on the ninth
I thought
meeting.
Eddie was supposed to have done this, but
yeah, it's at the top, May the 9th, we introduced.
May the 9th it was introduced, and there's no questions. I move for adoption of ordinance number 31 of 2022 to amend the budget. And
Second.
Okay, motion been made and seconded. I believe Clarissa made some remarks last meeting. All right. Comments, questions, council?
if she would like to expound on it again, as to the purpose of why we're amending this budget again.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. So quickly, what we do at the end of each year is we go back and we look and see how close we are to what we budgeted for that year. So we try to stay within a 5% variance on expenses and on revenue. So if we are not within that amount, we go in and we make an adjustment and move some of our budgeted dollars around, make sure that we're covering the expenses, so we can then be within that 5% variance and stay, in good standing as far as the legislative auditors concerned.
That's great, and I think she said at the last meeting, we are within the budget, which is.
Yes,
that
yes, with
5%,
this
so that's
adjustment, we will
good.
be, right.
Just want everyone to understand that.
Any public comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, Mrs. Stacy, roll call vote.
Eli,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Petite,
Yes.
All right, that motion carries as well. All right, next item on the agenda is ordinance number 26. That's Councilman Harrington.
Ordinance number 26 of 2022. This is an ordinance adopting the budget for the city of Natchez for the fiscal year June 1st, 2022 through May 31st, 2023. And whereas a budget has been prepared by the Finance Director, Clarissa Brown Smith, and has been submitted by the Mayor, Ronnie Williams Jr., to the City Council for review and consideration. And now therefore be it ordained that the Natchez City Council does hereby adopt the budget for the fiscal year June 1st, 2022 through May 31st, 2023. And the general fund is budgeted at $19,369,505. The utility fund, $40,842,500. And the special and capital project funds, $25,706,951. I move to adopt ordinance number 26 of 2022.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. Comments or questions, council? We just had our budget hearing starting at 4:30. Any public comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, roll call vote, Mrs. Searcy.
Eli,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Petite,
Yes.
All right, that motion carries as well. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 32 of 2022, and that's Councilman Nielsen.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 32 of 2022 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Natchitoches, Ronnie Williams Jr., to execute a third lease amendment to water tower option and lease agreement with New Singular Wireless PCS LLC to increase the size of the lease premises to tenant to include a 4x10 area to accommodate tenants' needs for the installation of a generator. And I move that we adopt ordinance number 32 of 2022.
Second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. I think Matt has explained this the last meeting. Do we need to be reminded, council? Okay. Are there any questions about this? I think there was a $250 increase from this particular company.
Yeah, a monthly lease increase of $250.
Okay, all right. So that was a key point we wanted to remind you of. Any public comments or questions about this particular item on the agenda? All right. Seeing none, Mrs. Stacy, roll call vote.
Eli,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Yes.
Harrington. Petite,
Yes.
All right, that motion carries as well. Next item on the agenda is ordinance number 34 of 2022, and that's Councilwoman at Large Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 34 of 2022 is an ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Natchez, Louisiana, to enter into a memorandum of understanding with Natchez Community Alliance Foundation, DBA Natchez Economic, doing business as Natchez Economic Development Alliance, which is NEDA, NEDA, which said memorandum provides for services to be provided by the Natchez Economic Development Alliance, providing for a one-year term and providing for advertising, severability, and further providing for a repealer and effective day of ordinance. This ordinance was introduced on May 9th, 2022, and published in the Natchez Times on May 12th, 2022. And I move for adoption of ordinance number 034.
Second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. We have Mrs. Laura Lyles here, along with Mr. Tom Matushka. I'm going to ask that they would come and just kind of explain what this relationship is going to be between the city and the Natchez Economic Development Alliance, also known as NEDA.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Laura Lyles. For those who I don't know, I'm the president of the Natchez Area Chamber of Commerce, and I'm very happy to report that we recently executed a management agreement between the Natchez Area Chamber of Commerce and the Natchez Economic Development Alliance for the chamber to take a stronger leadership role in economic development for the city and the parish. So this is something that we have been involved in, the chamber has been involved in for a number of years, and this is just a little bit larger leadership role in that. I'm happy to report also that we have picked up some steam recently. The NEDA board decided to invest in an economic development strategic plan that will go alongside the master planning process that is currently going on for the city and the parish. And I think the turning point for me and how this picked up steam very quickly was when Mr. Ken Tipton was in one of the master planning committee meetings and said, you guys are building the car, but you got to figure out how to give it gas. So that is when we kind of kicked it into high gear, discussing economic development and how we were going to pay for all the infrastructure needs that we have in the city. So that kind of quickly catapulted us into conversations, and here we are tonight asking for your support for economic development. That economic growth, we plan to help support all the infrastructure needs that we have.
Questions or comments, council?
I just have one. I think we spoke, but could you tell us who all's on the committee? Part of that
Yes, I
committee?
sure can. I didn't write it down, but I'm sure I will remember this right off the top of my head. I have our chairman of the board here, Tom Matushka with Natchitoches Regional Medical Center. I'm going to test I think I might be able to do it. You test me, okay. And then my past chair is Ryan Totenbier, who's a local CPA. We have our treasurer, Josh Manuel, who's with Citibank and Trust. We've got my chamber board chair, Van Erickson. We've got from NSU, she is the vice president of economic development and outreach and innovation. I think I covered it all. Miss Lori Morrow. We've got Travis Tyler from the Natchitoches Parish Port. We've got Mr. Terrence Moffitt, Henry T. Moffitt from Moffitt Foods. Let's see, we've got, Tustin?
Catrice
Below, yes, with BOM Bank. I wasn't counting on my fingers. And Jeremy Burford, who is with Roy O. Martin. So we tried to make sure that we had representation from a variety of business and industry folks who are actually very much impacted by our efforts in economic development and who are really stakeholders in this and can help us build a stronger team. Economic development does not happen in a vacuum. It's not one person that does it. It's a whole community that has to get behind it. So we think we put together a pretty strong restructured board in that group.
Thank you. Good. Any public comments or questions for Mrs. Lyles or Mr. Matushka? All right, I think that this is going to be very fruitful for the city of Natchitoches and other partners involved. So I think we're headed in the right direction.
Thanks. Oh.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. We got public comments. I think did we get a motion in second?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Public
All right.
comments.
And we got public comments. Roll call vote.
Eli,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Petite.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. I'm excited. Gonna be great. All right, now we've got a few, our next couple actually, are ordinances that are on for introduction. And Councilman Nielsen gets to read ordinance number 35.
I'm going to read the whole thing.
Hey, he's done it before.
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance number 35 of 2022, an ordinance authorizing the issuance by the city of Natchez, state of Louisiana, of its taxable utilities revenue bonds, Series 2022, in an amount not to exceed $935,000, prescribing the form, terms, and conditions of said bonds, providing for the payment thereof, entering into certain other covenants and agreements in connection with the security and payment of said bonds, selling said bonds to the Clean Water State Revolving Fund, authorizing the execution of a loan and a pledge agreement and other loan documents with the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality, providing for the delivery of the bonds to said department, and providing for other matters in connection therewith. Whereas the city of Natchez, state of Louisiana, now owns and operates a combined sewer and sewage treatment system, water plant and distribution system, and electric light and power plant, and proposes to acquire and construct additions, extensions, and improvements to the sewer and sewage treatment portion of the system, including but not necessarily limited to equipment and fixtures. And whereas the city proposes to finance a portion of the cost of the project through issuance of its taxable utilities revenue bonds, Series 2022, payable as to principal and interest from a pledge and dedication of the revenues of the combined water and sewage system after payment of the reasonable and necessary expenses of operating and maintaining the system pursuant to provisions RS 39524 and Subpart A, Part 2, Chapter 4, Title 39 of Louisiana Revised Statutes of 1950 as amended, and other constitutional and statutory authority supplemental thereto. And everybody deer in the headlights. So it's time to turn it over to Matt Anderson to make some comments to further explain.
Thank you. Yeah, this is for some work we're going to do at 2 of our sewer lift stations. These lift stations are probably nearing 40 years old, so they need some rehab work, new pumps, new controls, new rail system, new lining of the wet well. So this is at the Mill Street lift station and Grand Accord lift station.
And this ordinance is the last step before we receive the funding for the project. Before the council approved a resolution for us to go to the State Bond Commission to get preliminary approval to receive this loan. The State Bond Commission approved it, I believe, in April. So at this stage, this is the introduction of the ordinance, which would show the complete financial transaction. So we'll come back to the council for approval, provided the DEQ provide us that loan documents and information you mentioned, and then I bring it to the mayor, he'll sign it all, you approve it, and the transaction be complete, and we can begin the project.
And I would like to mention that $312,000 of this will be loan forgiveness. So, you know, the loan will say not to exceed $935. We won't actually be borrowing $935.
And whenever you go through, whenever you go through DEQ, the interest rate is like 0.95%, lower than possible. So.
Matt, I think you were going to.
I was just saying, I was just going to add that, you know, about a third of it is forgiven.
Yeah, okay.
That's awesome.
So a good deal for us. Yep. All right, we've seen this before. As Alex said, this is just how the process works. So questions, comments, council? Public comments or questions? Okay, again, this next meeting, we're going to vote on this. Yes, ma'am, if you can please come to the microphone, state your first and last name. And,
my name is Deborah Thompson, and I'm fairly new, so I don't quite know how things operate. Are we putting out a bond to be voted on for people to raise taxes, to raise money for this, or is this something different? Not taxing, it's a bond for taxes?
No, this is not an additional
It's
tax.
not
but-
tax.
No, we won't vote on it to increase. It won't increase any taxes. This loan is repaid from the revenues that we receive already from the community.
Oh, very good.
Okay.
What's your name again? Miss Deborah Thompson? Yeah, okay, nice to meet you, Ms. Thompson.
All right. Okay, so next item on the agenda is also for introduction. It's Ordinance Number 36 of 2022. Councilwoman Delores Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. This is ordinance number 36 for introduction. Ordinance number 36 of 2022. This is an ordinance to designate funds from the American Rescue Plan for use by the city of Natchez to provide assistance to households in maintaining housing stability and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. Whereas the city of Natchez is a municipality located in the state of Louisiana and governed under the Homeroom Charter and a code of ordinance adopted by Ordinance Number 5 of 1977. And whereas, further, The Louisiana Revised Statutes of 1950 requires that when there has been a change in operations upon which the original adopted budget was developed, the governing authority shall adopt a budget amendment in an open meeting to reflect such change. Whereas further, the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, enacted by the 117th Congress of the United States of America, APRA, appropriated $250,000 to the state of Louisiana, which was then appropriated to the city, to the APRA Household Assistance Funding for the purposes of providing assistance to households and maintaining housing stability services that enable eligible households to maintain or obtain housing, specifically by providing direct financial assistance to households within 200% of the federal poverty guidelines. These are impacted households. And whereas further, the office of the mayor of the city of Natchez is a proper recipient of the APRA Household Assistance Funding, most capable of properly distributing it to impacted households. And whereas further, it is the desire of this governing authority to appropriate the APRA Household Assistance Funding to the office of the mayor of the city, to expend it by the mayor of the city, or the administrative designee of the mayor, which is the finance director, pursuant to the guidelines published by the United States Department of the Treasury. Be it further ordained by the Natchez City Council in legal and regular session that it is appropriate that it hereby appropriates the APRA Households funding to expend it at the direction of the mayor or the finance direction. It is further ordained that the budget of the city be amended to reflect the receipt of the APRA Household Assistance Funding and its designation by the mayor or the finance director for the purposes of properly distributing it to the impacted households. Be it further ordained that this ordinance shall become effective immediately upon adoption. And Mayor, this is for introduction only,
All right.
but it had to be read in its entirety.
Yes, ma'am. For introduction only. I just want to read a portion. I think I provided you the link, Council. I can give you the physical printout. I mentioned earlier in our budget hearing that I think the Treasury Department, the Federal Treasury Department, received a lot of feedback from communities throughout the United States because their initial guidance was that you can't do this or that. Now, they still have some can't do's. Like you can't use this money to finance a debt or to service your debt. You can't use it, they have a different, list of ways in which you cannot use it. But they've since amended it to say you could remodel streets or you could use some of the money for streets. That was initially prohibited. Now, there's a portion here, I'm looking on page 18 from the U.S. Department of Treasury, and allow me to read it into the record. Treasury recognizes the enumerated projects below, which have been expanded under the final rule as eligible to respond to impacts of the pandemic on households and communities. And there's a list that they give because they're trying to give you guidance as to how you could use some of the money. So they list things like food assistance, emergency housing assistance, where in that little section, they kind of generally state utility assistance. And so what's expected is that the municipality that pursues this path would have to stand up a program whereby to give aid to residents who would qualify for such monies. So, Clarissa, is there anything else there? I know we're developing an application.
Yeah, so it'll be an application process. We are developing a scale to what amount each family would be eligible for based on the poverty guideline standards. As the mayor said, it'll be 200% of the poverty guidelines, which gives us a lot more citizens that we can actually help. I think the cap right now, we have listed at $300. The minimum is gonna be $100. And it's for any customer that is currently enrolled with the utility annex.
And I should say that since this is a one-time money, this is, you know, a program that we can't fund, you know,
Over and over.
into perpetuity. So while we have it, we set aside $250,000. We're gonna have to hire a temporary employee to manage the program, so forth, so on. So, yeah, that's what we're, like we said, very simple application, but can give some aid to those who qualify under this program.
I think it's going to help a lot of residents. I get calls every day about high utility bills and a lot of them cut off. So this is going to help a lot of households with this one-time funding.
Yep, and I will say, and y'all know, we've been announcing, you know, wherever there's funding for the residents of Natchitoches. One is the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. You know, again, you have to go through something to get it, like you have to apply. But I think there's still funding there. So every opportunity I get, I just want to make people aware that there's still opportunities in those programs. Of course, we have OCS, but I know there are rules and guidelines within. I'm not familiar with all of the rules, but within a certain time frame, you can't come back for a while, something like that. So, but I mean, there are some other opportunities out there as well.
I want to also ask this, because I'm not really sure about it myself. I know we discussed it. The residents will have to apply. Do they go online to apply? Do they apply at the utility department? How would they come about getting this assistance? Or just automatically done on their billing?
No, so they will apply, they will fill out an actual application. We're hoping that they do it electronically so that it'll kind of help with the filtering of the applications, but they will be able to, you know, print one out and fill it out manually. It will run through our utilities department, so they can either deliver it or email it to the utilities department. We'll have all that information detailed when we push out the publication regarding the program.
So is a notice going to go out in their billings as to how to
We haven't really
apply?
determined actually how it'll go out. I'm pretty sure we'll put something to the public, to like in the paper or something like that.
Okay.
Maybe on social media, you know, to kind of get the word out to everyone. Hadn't thought about putting it in the actual envelopes of the billing, because some things are, you know, everybody doesn't get a actual bill. You know, they may opt for electronic. So
true.
we want to try to put it out in news publications and social media for sure.
Okay, great.
Well, and then we also in-house probably have a list that if we were proactive, could reach out and touch them and try to get them in. And
Yes, sir.
So basically, if the ones that's disconnected already, they would be able to use that fund to, if like they're on a cutoff point, would they be?
I think it'll help. I'm not saying necessarily, you know, every situation is different.
Right.
But I certainly think, and we kind of tentatively looked at those numbers that she mentioned earlier, because we just don't know how many people will apply.
Right.
You know, it's a lot we don't know. We've never really done a program like this before. And we did make attempts to, you know, get, you know, folks who know how to do it, not already do it. But I think it came back that, you know, we'll try to set it up ourselves. So I think that's really a case by case. It may not get them all the way to where they're caught up.
Yeah.
But I think certainly whether it's a $300 benefit or whatever, that'll help.
Right.
Yeah, I got one that's cut off, so I'm glad you asked
Right.
that question. So
Right.
let them know if they can use it to apply toward their bill at least.
Right.
until they get
Right, and
caught
maybe
up.
merge that with some other funds that they may have, or, yep.
And then also, Mayor, I want to make a comment. A lot of people really don't, with the Louisiana assistance, they looking at it as a rent. But if you stroll down, all the way down to the end, it does have utility assistance. You don't have to complete the whole application for the rental system. You just have to complete the part with the utilities. So is this not you just saying that you want to do the rental part? So if you stroll all the way down to the bottom part, which would say utilities assistance, and you just need a bill to actually really go to a utility place, get a pass-through bill, or they can basically, get their information and do it electronically, and then they'll correspond to the people that's from Baton Rouge to get the utilities paid.
And I appreciate, Councilwoman, that clarification, because I know in the name of the program, it says emergency rental assistance. And some people may say, well, I don't need that, I need some, but it's also a program for utility assistance. So appreciate that clarification.
And my concern was, which I think I have answered, is alleviated, is our utilities, the city, we make a profit off the utilities. And so my concern was, are we using these funds to help people with their utility bills, yet the city's still making a profit off of it? I had a big issue with that. I didn't think we needed to. I didn't think that could happen legally. But if y'all want to answer to that, I think that's been addressed.
Yeah, we kind of discussed it earlier, but this would be an offset. So it won't be any direct payment to the customer or the community. It'd be an offset directly from the bill. So our intent is not to financially gain, but to make sure that we help the community, those who qualify and meet the guidelines.
So from the direct cost, I guess, because what it cost us from the utility company, we're not going to also charge them the profit we make. It's just offsetting the cost from the utility company. Is that my understanding?
I mean, it's offsetting the usage of a household.
Yeah.
Now, you could, based on the cost of the utilities from the company, not just from the customer standpoint, it'll be well under what the cost is. We can be very careful in the verbiage to say that we're offsetting that household, not just for one bill, but we're offsetting this amount, and that can span over however much usage, that they undergo, whether it's a year, that we look back at, or however you want to place that verbiage. But we are not, like he said, giving type of cash benefit to the city. These monies are coming from ARPA originally anyway, so these funds could be used, for city purposes. So anything that, even though we're offsetting it, we're not misappropriating these funds, because the intention was to use these funds for city endeavors. So.
Yeah. I'm just making sure people know that we're truly doing it to help people, and we as a city aren't benefiting financially from doing so.
For sure.
On the back end,
Yes, sir.
And one other question, you said it'll be electronically, and maybe people could print them out or they can email them. There's a lot of people who don't have access to that, and a lot of people they may have access at the library, but they don't know how. So is it a possibility at the utilities office they could have some of the forms there, so they?
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And like he said, we'll have a person there. May have to have multiple people, as Alex said. We may need additional help. One person may not be able to filter them all, but they can definitely walk in and complete the application.
Okay,
yeah, it won't be any restrictions to that.
Yep.
And I know this is for introduction, so would this be voted on at the next meeting?
Yes, ma'am? Okay,
And one
any
more
public
question.
comments?
I have one more question. It's not going to be based by income, right?
Yes, it is
It will.
based on income and household size.
Okay.
Yes.
And as she noted earlier, we're working with that 200% to
Yes.
kind of give, because sometimes you have individuals who, they might work and everything, or,
Just trying to cover a larger amount of our customers, being at the 200 percentile, and taking into concept, the effect that COVID had on all families, not just.
Right. Because we have some families that do work,
Right.
but they're not going to meet that bracket, but they still will be able to get help, correct?
Yeah, because the two, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but being at the 200 percentile will make a lot of families eligible, even the working families,
Okay.
even the, two income families, to some extent will qualify.
Okay, thank you.
okay? Any public comments, questions? Yes, ma'am?
Will an insert be added to the bill to let them know that it's available to them?
I think that's what
That's
Councilwoman
right.
Lloyd Smith was
Yeah, I
saying
think we
earlier.
could put the message, that won't be difficult to do, to put
I
a
like that
message
idea.
on there. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it.
Yeah, it'd be a simple message we could develop along with, like you were saying, get it to our local news folks and social media and everything like that.
Because even though I know we all want them to, not everyone reads the newspaper or the journal. And you said, like you said, not everyone gets a utility bill, but most people do. Most people don't get them electronically, and they're at least gonna open them up most likely, and so you have something in there that
Right.
might be a bright color, yellow or something, and grab their attention. And
Yeah, no, I think that's all doable.
Yep.
That's all doable.
Great, great.
Any additional public comments or questions? All right, seeing none, again, this was just introduced, so we will put it to a vote on our next meeting. All right, moving on to resolutions. These are up for a vote, and we have Councilwoman Washington Eli reading Resolution Number 44 of 2022.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 44 of 2022, a resolution authorizing the mayor to advertise and accept the bid for the West Natchez Water Main Replacement Phase 1. Whereas the sealed proposal shall be addressed to the City of Natchez Office of the Director Processing, P.O. Box 37 in Natchez, Louisiana 71458, or received at the City of Natchez Processing Department 1400 Sabine Street, Natchez, Louisiana. And this is for Matt Anderson. So I move to adopt resolution number 44, 2022.
Second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. And yes, Matt, would you just kind of give us an explanation as to why we're seeing what we're seeing?
Yeah, this is another phase of water main replacement, trying to get rid of the cast iron and galvanized water mains in the city of Natchez. This project is going to be encompass parts of Welch Street, Stella Street, Mandel, Pauline, Bivens, Raphael, and Robinson Streets, up to Gold. So probably looking about a 4-block area of water mains to be replaced, and we'll put new fire hydrants in those areas. Just trying to get rid of some of the older water mains, some of the cast iron and galvanized.
This help the drinking water also?
Yes, it's for drinking water. It's, and will improve fire protection also.
Okay.
And Matt, I know you and I had talked about kind of the plan per year. Maybe speak to that a little bit in terms of kind of budget, what we budgeted historically for this.
Several years ago, we tried to budget about $500,000 per year in water main replacement, but with recent cost increases in labor, material, and everything else, this is probably going to be around $700,000. So, you know, we'd like to continue that trend every year, $700,000 to maybe $1 million. It doesn't go as far as you think it would when you're talking about water main replacement, but we've got to keep chipping away at it to get to where we need to be.
Yep.
One thing I want to kind of, and you could help me do this, bring to people's attention, is even though the water main on the street's replaced, that water main from the street to that individual's house may still be old and decrepit and falling apart.
That's correct. We still have a lot of residents with galvanized water lines from the meter to their homes. They will still see some problems from that if it hasn't been replaced in a very long time.
And I just wanted to clarify, because that's their water line. That's privately owned.
Right.
We can't replace that
No,
one.
we can't do anything past the meter.
And so even though the one on the street may be brand-new, crystal clear water going through it, if the one going from it to their house is corroded and falling apart on the inside, when that water goes to their home, it's going to come out discolored.
And we're trying to start in some of the worst areas, the places we have the most complaints for dirty water, the places we have the most leaks that we're going back time and time again and repairing those same leaks. So we're trying to concentrate on those areas first. But think of the grid of water lines in the city of Natchez, looks like a spider web, a big spider web. So everything's connected to everything.
Yeah.
So to totally clean up the dirty water problems that we see, we'd have to get the whole grid replaced. And you just can't do that financially. You can't do that. It just has to happen over time.
Every case is different, and I think Eddie brings up a good point. Is that endeavor, private replacement of water mains, is that very expensive to do?
Well, yeah, it can be. I mean, it depends how far your house is off the street, you know. If it's 50 feet, you know, you may get a plumber to come in there and do it for $300 or $400. But if it's further, and then some of these older homes have galvanized pipe in the home. So until you get rid of all the galvanized, and they haven't used galvanized in probably 50 years. So if you've still got it in your homes, and there are a lot of homes in Natchez that do have it, it's been there a while.
Okay. Any more comments or questions, council? And for those who don't know, this is what we call the breeder town part of Natchez. All right, any public comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, roll call vote.
Eli,
Yes.
Nelson.
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
Petite.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. Next resolution is Resolution Number 45. It's read by Councilman Petite.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 45 of 2022, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute change order number 1 for the purchase of a forklift for the purchasing department, purchasing warehouse. Whereas the city of Natchez awarded the bid to Scott Equipment on September 27 of 2021 by Ordinance Number 44 of 2021 in the amount of $116,000 for a forklift for the purchasing warehouse. Whereas on May 4th, 2022, Scott Equipment Company issued a pricing surcharge update, hereinafter referred to as change order number 1. Whereas due to the continued challenging global and domestic economic conditions, the manufacturer implemented an additional material surcharge for the ordered forklift, more fully described in change order number 1. Whereas the agreement sum will be increased by this change order number 1 in the amount of $6,000 and revise the agreement to the total of $122,000. Whereas the city is of the opinion that change order number 1 is in the best interest of the city. I so move that resolution number 45 of 22 be adopted.
Second.
All right, motion has been made and seconded. This equipment, is this for you, Matt? Who's
It's
this
for the purchasing warehouse.
Oh, purchases, go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, this is similar to last council meeting where we had the 47-foot sheave height digger truck. This is the same thing. The cost is being passed from the manufacturer to the Scott Equipment, to the dealer. So they're not making any, Scott's not making any additional money. It's from the manufacturer. And it's, they kind of put you in a bind with the price of materials and things going up. They even asked if we would cancel the order. But, we had the binding bid, which we need the piece of equipment. And for $6,000, I think we need to go with the change order and accept it. Otherwise, we start over, and we've already been out for bid, not out for bid, but this has been awarded for almost a year now. And it's still a few months away from getting it, and we certainly don't need to start over. And then we're going to pay the larger cost anyway. So I think it's in our best interest to accept the change order and try to get the forklift.
Comparatively speaking, I think did you say it? The last one we had $17,000 on a
That's
different
right.
piece of equipment, but this one is certainly not that number. So
Is this the one we've had a picture of before, one of the meetings?
It's not exactly like that, but it is a commercial, like job site type forklift. We use it for handling utility poles and transformers, unloading 18-wheelers, loading 18-wheelers, so it's heavily used.
Okay. Any additional questions, comments, council? What about public comments? Any public comments? Ms. Stacey, I don't remember. Did we have a motion?
Yeah, we just need a roll call vote.
Okay. Then there are no additional questions or comments?
I just have one more question. You said this has been out for like a year already?
Yeah, this was awarded, not quite a year, it was awarded either last August or September,
Why haven't we gotten it?
because that's the way equipment is right now. It takes a long time to get equipment, vehicles, anything like that right now. We're on a waiting list. Whenever our time comes up on the waiting list, it'll be sent to us.
Is there a lack of material to make this equipment, or what are you sensing out there, Ed?
I think material is a big part of it, labor's another part of it. Just like you're seeing with vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
So we're guaranteed we're gonna get it now, or, I mean, with the 6,000 increase, we're guaranteed to get it now, we have to, do you know? I'm just asking.
No, I think we're gonna get it. We're
gonna get it, so
we're
since a
still
year.
on the list, and we're still in our order, moving in line. The order has not been canceled.
But this is locked in now at this,
Well, I'd say we're still locked in, but depending on the decision we make, and I do think we're locked in unless for some reason they come up with another increase or something.
Okay. All right, any other comments or questions?
I don't think I'm clear with what I'm hearing.
Do we need a Ms. Sexton? Hey, would you come to the, yeah.
Please.
My name is Nicole Gray. My question is related to the origin of the bid. So are we saying we had a quote for a bid that we agreed to purchase, and then they changed the price on us?
That's correct.
Okay.
I understand what you're getting at. The same thing with the truck we've had
The digger
here. Same
truck,
thing
yeah.
Shreveport's doing with the garbage trucks. But that's manufacturers are doing, and they're okay if you cancel the order because there's somebody else waiting in line to get it.
So it's not a legal thing then, like the original bid, is what I'm trying to say.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to.
We can't take them.
Yeah.
We might could, that'd be more for
It costs a lot more money.
Alex to answer, but the end result is we're not going to get the piece of equipment at the price we want.
So it just makes sense to do it this way for the amount that we,
So who are we getting the equipment from?
Scott Equipment, but the manufacturer is JLG.
And I understand it's gonna be some, my question and in my mind, we've done this for a year, and I know there's backlog on a lot of materials and stuff, but we're going with $6,000 now. When and how do we know when we're gonna get this equipment and if it's gonna go up again?
I agree.
And how long it's gonna take us before we get this?
Well, they think August or September is their estimate, but I'm not going to know for sure till we get it. That's just their projections right now.
But if it goes up again, it's gotta come back.
You gotta come back.
If it goes up again, it has to come back here, and then y'all can accept it or decline it.
That's the dangers of it, because the price of the material is steady going up. So if you wait, you're probably going another 20,000.
Yeah, it's going to keep going up.
Yeah,
And if they cancel on us, and we rebid, it's gonna go up.
It's going to go up, and then
And
you're
what
going
do
to
we
be.
use it for
it's-
now? What's the purpose of it again? Tell me again.
We use it at the purchasing warehouse. We load and unload 18-wheelers, all the different kinds of items, supplies that come in. We load and unload transformers, utility poles. We even use it, if you see at Christmas time, we set pieces down on the riverbank with the Christmas set pieces. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, see how they install them, but they take that forklift down to the riverbank and put in and remove the set pieces.
So we don't be susceptible to another change order if the price goes up again?
hey, we need to, if you're gonna, we need you at the mic. Okay. All right, now I do know, and I think Chief is getting to it.
Maybe.
Councilman Nielsen and I were, in his industry, he was saying something similar that he's seeing. Could you kind of communicate that? Do you remember the conversation we were having?
Metal has been an issue for a year and a half, and we have had glass prices go up 3 times, and we have some big jobs that we've taken a serious hit on. So this is only going to get worse. If you can't get computer chips to put in trucks, and you're having to wait, and metal, I don't know what's driving that. Petroleum, I'm sure has something to do with it, but it's the whole market. It's really bizarre, some of the stuff that we're experiencing. And
It's
just,
It's trickled down to the strangest of areas where I do bankruptcy law. And so we're creditors now of a car, if someone's paying for a car in a bankruptcy, creditors are coming in and objecting, saying the value of that car is now increased by this much because of the market. Because cars right now, used cars, the values are increasing astronomically because it's hard to get new cars. And so, and the bankruptcy courts are approving those increases. I mean, so this is happening, this is trickling down to everywhere. It's hurting so many people. I mean, it's trickling down to everything.
And Councilman Nielsen, you were also telling me that you guys cut how long you have a
how long
offer
the
out.
quotes are good.
Yeah.
And we're still researching verbiage to address this, right there.
That's what we
Your
need.
costs go up, and here you've given a quote. There's a lot of them that you're like, you know what? Let's just throw it in the trash, because our profits are squeezed once you've given it. But although, Nicole, I agree with you, it's kind of, you gave your word, you need to stand behind it, which we've done, but we're getting tired of doing it.
Just in support of Ed, we're seeing 6 to 15% increase in equipment prices in the fire service too, so everything is going up. Fire trucks last year that cost us $300,000 is pushing $500,000 now, so I mean, it's going up across the board.
The economy is just goofy.
So, I mean, I hear what you're saying, you know, if they gave us a price, it needs to stick there, but we were talking about some of the consequences of that, and Councilman Petite kind of pointed it out. You could be dealing with a much greater cost increase than like what we're seeing, $6,000 for this piece of equipment.
Yeah, we could take a hard line, but we won't be any better off.
So who's department is for?
It's the
Purchasing warehouse.
So will everybody be able to use it?
Can everybody use it?
Yes.
I mean, if they have, city departments, if there's a need, like utility department uses it, community development uses it, it just depends on what the need is.
Okay. That's all I need to know, because I just didn't want to purchase it and just one department use it.
It's a good question. Yep. Any other comments about this? Okie dokie. We did get I forgot, it was long ago. Well, did we get a motion to say?
That's what we need, yeah.
We got it? Okay. All right, Mr. Stacy, roll call vote.
Eli,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Petite,
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. Okay, next item, two more items. This next one is it's resolution number 46 of 2022, read by Councilman Harrington.
Resolution number 46 of 2022, a resolution authorizing the execution of a legal services agreement with Barron and Bud PC, Kosich, Summits, Perciola, and Taylor LLC in Washington and Wells attorneys at law, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Whereas the city of Natchez desires to engage outside counsel, those that I named above, to represent the city, including but not limited to its boards, commissions, and agencies in this matter, and seeks to enter into a legal services agreement with the outside counsel in relation thereto. And whereas the city, including its boards, commissions, or agencies, has the right and/or obligation to pursue claims for damages, compensation, and other relief against the manufacturers and suppliers of firefighting foam products and other products containing PFAS and PFOS and any other related compounds. I'm going to have Alex explain further, but I move to adopt Resolution 46 of 2022.
I second.
And we have a member of the Cossack firm present also in the back, and he will come up in a minute. But probably, I think, 3 weeks ago, we did a tour of Natchez with one of their representatives from their firm, to see whether or not the city of Natchez should use this substance, which is listed on this resolution. We also met with Ed at the airport and Chief Wynn, and we did determine that Natchez has used this substance before. This firm, we work in another jurisdiction, they bring out experts to take a look at and determine whether or not there's some damages for the city of Natchez. And if so, they'll file a claim or file a lawsuit on behalf of the city and just put our name in the hat just in case there's a recovery. We'll be able to receive some revenues for it.
And I understand there's no cost to the city, is that what you
No
said?
cost, all costs will be borne by the law firms. Even if there's a recovery, the city won't pay. The payment will come from the proceeds of the suit or claim.
So who's the benefit exactly? Is it residents, is it like a class action type suit
Yes,
that they're doing?
I'm
Class
sorry, the
action throughout
resident,
the state?
the city would receive whatever funding
City, I mean.
if, let's say, we're successful, and from there, it would go into whatever fund you want to use it for.
Use it for.
Sometimes it's to fix what the issue is.
Yeah, okay, great.
But I'll let Brandon kind of.
Sure, and my name is Brandon Taylor. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight, and Alex covered a good bit of what we're here to talk about. But our firm is right out of New Orleans. It's Constance, Parciola, and Taylor. There's some tricky names in there. And we represent currently just a shade less than 100 public entities, whether it be property owners or water providers, on this particular case. And the case mainly turns around the use of this fire foam, certain fire foams that were produced and made and manufactured in the 60s through the early 2000s. Not being made anymore, but they were used historically to train and to put out fuel fires, a lot of times jet fuel fires. And as Alex mentioned earlier, we did have a couple of spots here in the city that we think this foam was used historically. And so at this point, it's an investigation. And we have, like I said, a number of clients across the country in all phases. We're at the investigative phase in some places where we find out we do or don't have the problem. If there is an issue, then we move down to file suit. To answer one of your questions earlier, it wouldn't necessarily be a class action. The city would have its own suit. And that suit would likely end up in a jurisdiction, believe it or not, in South Carolina, where the court system has decided there are so many of these cases across the country. In order to make it more efficient, they've sort of lumped everybody into still having their own case as not a class action, this particular court in front of a particular judge, so that we can be more efficient in some discovery rulings, taking depositions, things of that nature. And we've already taken, well over 100 depositions across the country in this case, done a lot of discovery and made a lot of headway. So there are entities across the country, property owners such as yourself in this particular regard, who are jumping into these suits and determining whether or not you have the problem. And if you have the problem, then our goal is to get you money to fix it and to clean it up and take care of it. And as it was mentioned earlier, it would not be at any cost to the city, either up front or down the road. If there is a recovery, then we would get our expenses back from that recovery. But if there is no recovery, for whatever reason it may be, that's just the cost that we would bear as the law firms representing the city, and there would be no payback from that. Nor is it an hourly case. We're paid on a contingency fee basis, meaning we collect a percentage of the recovery if, in fact, there is a recovery. If there wouldn't be for some reason, then, of course, we wouldn't collect the fee. So that, in a nutshell, is where we stand with this. I'm happy to answer any questions that I can in a public forum, and I look forward to having those if you have anything to ask.
You've answered mine. Thank you.
Okay. Good.
Good, counsel? Public comments, questions?
I would like to know what the recovery fee percentage would be.
If it was recovery, it would be 25% of the recovery.
So, how are you doing this? Where are you getting the money from to just go over the money and do this right now?
Well, from our firms, we've luckily had some success over the years, and we've been able to utilize, the money that we have as a firm and through other means within our firm to advance those costs.
And I say this, audience members, it's fine. We want you to ask questions, but let's do it from the microphone, okay? All right?
Okay.
So if you got a question, sir, I'm sorry.
Hello, I'm Timothy Holderness from KTBS. I just wanted to know, how did you know Natchitoches used this phone?
Okay, and I have to be careful in answering some of my questions because we do have attorney-client privilege in place, but I can just generally say there have been historical records and I guess, information that would reflect the potential use of that foam here. And we don't know that we're going to have positive findings on these tests. It's just an investigative stage at this point.
Okay. All right. Seeing no other questions or comments, thank you. Is it Brandon?
Yes, Brandon Taylor.
Thank you, Brandon
Thank you, Mayor.
Taylor,
Appreciate
for
it.
driving up to be with us.
No problem. I've enjoyed it.
Mrs. Stacy, roll call vote.
Eli,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Petite.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries as well. Next item is Resolution Number 47 of 2022. That's Councilwoman Washington Eli.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 47 of 2022, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute change order number 1 to the contract between the City of Natchez and the Williams Equipment Service LLC for 2001-2002 Phase 1 street rehabilitation. Whereas the City of Natchez award the bid to the Williams Equipment Service LLC Construction on March the 28th of 2022 by the Ordinance Number 14 of 2022 in the amount of $1,177,046.23. $46.23. I need to correct that. Whereas May the 12th of 2022, the contract issued change order number 1, fully described in attachment A, and whereas the contract sum would be increased by the change order number 1 in the amount of $1,300,370.29. And to resolve, the contract total would be $1,370,416.42. And I move to adopt resolution number 47 of 2022.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded to adopt this or to approve this resolution. And there's some documentation that accompanies this resolution. I think you all received it, right, Council? It kind of lays out the rationale and reasoning. This is for work to be done on Amulet Street with Phase 1 street rehabilitation. There are a couple of blocks that, there are a couple blocks that need additional attention. Again, as we mentioned earlier during the budget hearing, obviously you could use as much money as possible for streets, all right? So, I mean, wherever we can find money to use to improve the streets that we need to improve. So this is that, and again, this is Phase 1 of the next fiscal year, which we initially said the beginning of June. I think it's going to be maybe a couple weeks into June is when we'll start with Sadia Street, but this is thinking about that work down the line. So I don't know if there are any questions or comments about this particular resolution.
I think it's a perfect example of it's on the overlay, and if we just overlay and don't address the additional work that's needed, then we'll be back 2 to 3 years fixing that again. I hate that it's $130,370.29 for the uptick, but it needs to be done.
It does. And then the revised amount total is $1,307,416.52.
Yep.
It's needed.
Any public comments or questions? Okay. Seeing none?
Eli,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Harrington,
Yes.
Petite,
Yes.
All right, that motion carries as well. I believe we're now up to our financial report by Mrs. Brown-Smith.
Yes, sir. So, very quickly, we don't have the full financial report, but we did meet with the Natchez Tax Commission and was able to get some very important information. We talked about some of these numbers in our budget hearing, but we will restate those, and I pulled out a couple of items as well. So overall, year-to-date for tax collections, we're at $10.4 million, which far exceeds where we were in 2021. Over the last 4 years, we have been trending upwards from 2019 to date. So that was really good to see. And we are anticipating the exact trend moving forward. We put out law enforcement taxes over the first quarter of the year to kind of show how well they're doing in regards to how they compare to the 2021 in the same month. So we were looking at January, February, and March. And for our law enforcement taxes, each month as well, close to maybe 3 to 5% above where they were last year. So we thought that there was some very good numbers, and we wanted to make sure that we shared those with you guys. Looking at the 2% TIF tax, the hotel tax, as we discussed earlier, which is doing very well, nearing that $300,000 mark. Looking from the last 4 or 5 years, almost at 100% increase. So that was very good to see, and we are anticipating that to trend upward as well. And the last but definitely not least, it just kind of shows the breakdown of the TIF district collections. Again, we're trending upwards. I know that's, I'm keep saying the same thing, but I like saying up. When you're talking about money, revenues. So we are definitely trending upwards in both TIF taxes. So just want to kind of share some of that information with the council.
Right, and I really appreciate you for sharing that. And when some of these private projects are complete and they're operating, we'll see even more of an increase.
Definitely.
Some of the ones that we know are coming to our town, and I mean, we see construction in certain places. So that's certainly good, and it means, more that we'll be able to do, like street rehab and other projects we'll be able to get done to meet the need of the residents, or the needs of the residents. So,
Yeah.
are there any comments or questions, council, for Mrs. Brown-Smith? Yeah, it was a really good report. So, yeah, it's doing well right now. Okay? All right, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. We're moving on to, just want to do some acknowledgements on, these were the different high school graduates who received the Mayor's Award, and these are chosen by the schools, 3 respective high schools here. Your traditional public schools, I'm saying, because I know we have LSMSA as well, but, and not really just public, because St. Mary's is private, so, but our 3 main kind of Natchez high schools, if you will. So these are the individuals who received the Mayor's Award. Of course, perseverance, high academic standards, leadership among their peers, and obviously there are many other students who could have gotten this, but Philip Evans III at Natchez Central, Abigail Bevel, I'm thinking, at Natchez Central as well, Shamaria Harris, Demarion Sowell, Anthony Jefferson at the Natchez Parish Technical Career Center, and Anna K. Jackson at St. Mary's High School. So certainly congratulations to them. Also, there was an athletic, there was an athletic, I think they call it Leadership in Athletics. This was on Saturday at the Louisiana Sports Museum, amongst everything else we had going on here in the city on Saturday. But 2 from Natchez Central receiving this award in athletics, Catherine Stokes, Caitlin DeMars, and then from St. Mary's, Abigail Ramian, and Graham Fidelic as well. So just congratulations to them.
Congratulations.
Wanted to acknowledge them. They're not here, but we certainly wanted to acknowledge them in absentia for their achievements, and certainly congratulations to them. And our next city council meeting is going to be June 14th. We're going to be closed on Memorial Day. That's going to be next Monday. So I know employees are excited about that. We get a few. As I was sharing Mrs. Raymond with them on other occasions, I remember in education, we got all kind of days off. You know, the water line broke, you out of school type of thing. You know, a little bit of, not snow, but a little sleet coming down in the south. But so we count our days here in public service, and we appreciate them when they come to us. All right? And I think there are a few other announcements. Signs of Summer is the next farmers market. I think we've been having success at farmers market. It's been some interesting themes. We had the Battle of the Badgers on Saturday. We shall not say who won. We shall not say? All right, it wasn't either one of our Badgers, right?
We should have took it for the 4th year, so I'm just saying.
Oh, yeah, you think Chief Wynn thinks the fire department should have won. All right. I know Chief Collins said something different. So that's cool. All right, I think we have a few more announcements. They talk about mental health. This, again, Mrs. Raymond has been working really hard to organize this, and we're just so grateful for her concern about the community. So athletic studios, student participants, informational booths, keynote speaker. That's going to be 6 p.m. next Tuesday. So very important topic. Hopefully you can make it. I know there'll be a psychiatrist, trained professional psychiatrist, who's going to be one of the speakers. So certainly want you to be a part. Another Natchez Farmers Market coming up on the first Saturday in June. Chicken or the egg? What's
Chicken
going on
or
there,
the
man?
egg?
You don't know. You see? Everybody else does all the work.
I'm scared to ask what that's for.
Okay. So again, it's been fun.
Which came first, huh?
Yeah, it's been fun. So certainly get out to the farmers market, support your local businesses there. I know some of them are out of town, some of them are here, but really some good product. And my daughter has latched on to one of the products she has to have. Bike Sunday, it's going to be Sunday, June 5th at 8 a.m. We're going to start at the Eugene P. Watson Memorial Library, and there'll be a table and tent, bottled water and things like that, T-shirts for those first 100 people who register. So go ahead and register now. Get you a bike if you don't have one, and let's do this 3-mile ride together. And I know some people said, well, that's church day. Well, you'll get a chance to get you a shower afterwards and do what you have to do. But certainly want you to come participate. Mayor's Health and Fitness Council event. Again, it's completely free, okay? And then lastly, I think that we have up here anyway is Juneteenth celebration, basketball playoffs, we're kind of calling it, but different age groups will be competing against one another until we get that culminating basketball game. So that's going to start at 10 a.m., probably conclude somewhere around 2:30, 3 p.m. You know how basketball games go, depending on the stops and things like that. And then Saturday from 5 to 9, we're looking Freedom Festival on the Cane, some local talent, and we're still working on adding to the lineup. So I think we should have some good news we could say soon. But food trucks, kids area, fireworks as well. So we're just thankful for the participation we've gotten so far from area businesses and partners of the city of Natchitoches. And we're just hoping people will come out. A totally free event. Well, I say totally free, I shouldn't say totally. We want you to patronize the food trucks, right? And there'll be some other merchants there as well. But in terms of admission, that's free for you to get in and enjoy and participate in the music that's going on, okay? So those are the announcements. I think that's all we have.
I would just like to say the slide had the next meeting is June 14th, but it's June the 13th,
Okay.
not the 14th.
Oh, it's the 13th. Okay.
It's 14th on
13th.
the slide.
So 13th of June is actually our next meeting. All right, thank you
Mayor,
all.
before we close, another acknowledgement. Would like to acknowledge Davy Sweetie Ribs, as he's known. Of course, this year they won second place in their rib contest, and I just want to acknowledge him. He's a Natchez resident here. He does a great job throughout the city of providing, food to people and having his food truck on hand to patronize the city with whatever events we have throughout Natchez. So I just want to acknowledge Daryl Sweetie Walker for his placement as second place winner 2022 Memphis Rib Contest. He makes some great ribs. Oh, they're awesome.
They were killing it on the rib bank this weekend.
Oh, God, I've never had ribs taste so great.
Well, you haven't tried my ribs
Oh,
yet.
okay, all right. We're going to put you in that contest.
Here we go.
All right, thank you all for your time and participating in civic duty. This time, council,
I move that we
because you've been here since 4:30, we will hear a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Second. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, folks. Have a good evening.